I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use. Khan Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises. Kahaloyum Yahweh. Bahasham. Yahweh Shai. Bahasham. Rachacha Kodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To sisters, your achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Ram Yehowadah with the lesson. So I want to basically bring out a little bit of this, man, because this report that Clayton and his wife brought out, hey man, it really gives you the understanding of why Esau has the mind set that he's God, right? So let's go ahead and get into this without further ado, and go ahead and listen to Clayton and his wife, and then I guess he has a guest on here, and he basically, man, it really hit home why Esau, is speaking as a dragon, and he's basically he's the prince of the power of the air, man. He's definitely it definitely gives you an understanding. I mean, if you had this type of power, what would you consider yourself? But let's go ahead and listen to this.
Americans are still without power, if you can believe that, after that brutal winter storm brought massive snow and ice to much of the United States. Was the government or NGOs involved in some sort of a massive cloud seeding chemical geoengineering operation prior to this weekend's storm? Well, look at eyewitness reports all over the country. It doesn't take much to actually find them, reporting the same thing, all reporting the same thing. In the morning, the skies had a few of these lines in the sky, mostly clear, but then a few started to appear. Then by 10 a.m., more and more started to appear all across the skies. Then by 1 p.m., more and more, look at that, more and more start appearing above the skies. And then 3 p.m., again, more of these lines in the skies. And then, of course, we saw what happened, a massive, really devastating storm. We still don't know the effects or the how much of this, the fallout. We don't have the power outages. What will be the total death count? What is the operation here? Dane Wigington is the leader over at geoengineeringwatch.org, and he has been looking at this storm and all of the pieces of this that have gone into making this storm happen over the past few days, and one of our favorite guests to have back here on the show. Dane, welcome back to the show. Great to see you.
Thanks, Clayton. Thanks, Natalie. And first, to answer the question, is this storm engineered? Yes, absolutely, 100% top to bottom. I'll get to that, but if I can back up that formerly incredibly important conversation you just had with Colonel Davis, and Natalie, I could not agree with you more on your assessment, your anger at the situation. And Iran, whatever we think of their culture or their government, they have not invaded another country for 250 years. And so, again, the amount of deception going on is mind-numbing. And let me weave that into climate engineering. We know Iran has been the victim of climate engineering weather warfare for at least 4 decades. They have completely cut off the flow of precipitation to Iran, so much so that the capital of Iran, with a population of 10 million, they're now considering evacuating 10 million people to where? Because they literally have no water, because the NATO operations, and Iran is specifically named NATO and Israel as cutting off their precipitation for 40 years. That's weather warfare. I wonder why they don't like us over there. And again, they've been on the floor of the UN, on film, on the record, stating emphatically, the president of that country, that NATO's cutting off their precipitation. How is that not an ongoing act of war for 40 years?
I didn't know that.
Right. Actually, can you talk more about that, Dane?
Absolutely. On the floor of the UN, Ahmadinejad from Iran, going back a decade plus, emphatically stating that NATO and Israel were cutting off the flow of precipitation to Iran. And let's plug this in, going all the way back 64 years to President Lyndon Johnson in 1962. This is the beginning 30 seconds of every weekly geoengineeringwatch.org update on our site, all news. First 30 seconds is film footage, Lyndon Johnson stating on film, on the record, that we had the power to control the world's cloud layer then, and he who controls the weather controls the world. Why? Because he who controls the weather can control the flow of precipitation to any country, anywhere, how toxic that rain is, how much rain falls or doesn't. Thus, they can destabilize food supplies. Thus, they can destabilize populations. 40 years, the Iranian climate science meteorological community has stated that NATO is cutting off their precipitation. They're not guessing. They have incredibly sophisticated weather monitoring facilities, just like we have. There's no speculation here. They're cutting off precipitation.
What are the mechanics of that, Dean?
Yeah, that's a good question. How does that work?
Before we get to the U.S. piece of this and the storm, I want to continue on this line of thought. But what are the mechanics of us just cutting it off? I know what Lyndon Johnson said, of course, in Vietnam, and how we used
cloud seeding
to actually flood the troops. But how do we cut it off?
Climate intervention, aka weather warfare operations, are far more effective at eliminating and dispersing precipitation than augmenting it.
Wow.
They're doing the same. They've done the same thing to the U.S. West Coast. Going back over a decade, my presentations, Engineered Drought Catastrophe Target California. We can speculate on the agendas and objectives, and there are many, all of them nefarious. They're doing the same thing here, but the mechanisms by which they can completely cut off precipitation by the manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones, high pressure domes, which are exactly what ionosphere heater facilities like HARP create. HARP is a weapon of mass destruction. It's one of about 100 ionosphere heaters around the globe. These facilities, and this is not speculation either, this is science, study, confirmed fact. They, in the case of HARP, can transmit 3.6 million watts of power to the ionosphere, electrically charged ionosphere. That's a frequency transmission. That causes an electrical chain reaction, superheats that part of the atmosphere, expanding it up and down. The downward push forms a high-pressure dome. Nothing can enter that. No moisture can enter that. It spins around it in the northern hemisphere. That creates a clockwise spin. So what we have happening right now, I'll weave all this together. The high-pressure dome in the west is spinning all the moisture clockwise up and over the western U.S. They're chemically nucleating it the whole way, spins it back down into the eastern U.S. They combine that with the flow of moisture from the record warm Gulf of Mexico. Since when do winter storms come from the record warm Gulf of Mexico? And they combine those two, and in the transition zone you have now thunder snow, you have ice storms everywhere because this chemically nucleated material hits the ground before it sets up. These are patented processes, by the way. So back to Natalie's question, how do they cut off precipitation? That high pressure dome, when you're manipulating atmospheric pressure zones, you can cut off moisture from ever even entering a part of the world. Second method, if they overseed with condensation nuclei that's too small, particles that are too small to allow the raindrops to combine and form, what you get is these featureless skies that looks like it should rain, but nothing falls out. Again, those are two methods with which they can completely cut off precipitation to an area for as long as they want. These are patented processes. They've done it to Iran for decades. They're doing it to the U.S. So you end up with these drought deluge scenarios, and the crown jewel weapon for the controllers, Natalie and Clayton, is that they can blame all of this on nature.
Well, don't you hate when people say, I told you so?
Yeah, I told you so. Right. Yeah, so, hey, that right there alone, you're not surprised, but damn. And it gives you a true understanding that why this devil considers himself to be God, right? You know, You know. Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 60 verse 11. It says, therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, right? And at this point, this is talking about us, Lord willing, I'll be part of that number, but it's talking about, Israel just in general, because all of Israel shall be saved. But this is more talking about the elect that's going to be, reigning and ruling with Yahweh Shai, King David, the 12, the 100, basically part of that 144,000 in that innumerable multitude will be ruling, and the forces of the Gentiles will come unto that first 1,000 years of rulership, building up the kingdom. But I'm using this as an example because right now they have the forces, right? All the forces of the Gentiles flow into them, right? Via that the American dollar is the world reserve currency. So everybody in the world right now pays some type of tax, some type of currency, some type of debt unto the U.S. Dollar. Even with the de-dollarization, there's still the American dollar is actually still powerful. That's why they have to try to do something, some type of black swan event. They're gonna have to do something to actually collapse it completely. And that's basically what they're waiting to do. But it's power because even to this day, even though Russia's trying not to use it, China's not trying not to use it, they basically still have to use it on some level. Maybe not as much as they did, but they're using it on some type of level. The world, the whole entire world. So the forces of the Gentiles, what they call you goyim, is going into them, right? Unto America, unto the Bilderbergs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Oppenheimer, unto the international bankers, right? Because they set it up that way, right? And that the kings of the earth may be brought, right? And so because of this, they use the economic hitman and certain things so that the kings of the world or these different nations will be brought to their knees. It'll force them to come and basically bow to their whim. And especially when you having the power to stop it from raining, right? For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. And that's not going to happen with them, because, but that's their mindset. Because right now, that's the reason why they're setting up military vessels and ships outside of Iran, and they're trying to hit it while it looks vulnerable. But really, that's a trap. That's a trap of the Most High, which makes. But it makes sense for them to do it. Why it looks vulnerable? Why they're having this economic catastrophe, right? Which is what I was saying. They have their economic hitman, and why the economic system looks bad. It seems like a good time to attack, right? But not to mention, he mentioned something about it not raining, right? Right. So this is Zechariah chapter 14, verse 17, right? Because you gotta understand and believe and know that everything we do, that we're gonna do on the right hand side, Esau is equally prepared to do on the left hand side. So we're going to read this, understanding that this is the righteous way to do it from the Most High. But Esau, because, well, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, Job 9:24, he's wicked, right? He's the, right? Was it Malachi 1:4? He's the border of wickedness. So what is he going to do with the power within his hands? It says Zechariah 14:17. It said, and it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem, and right now they're in, the tiny tops are in Jerusalem, right? Well, not necessarily off from their created version of Jerusalem, but they're in the land, right? To worship the king, right? Which they're feeling, whoever the shadow puppet government is that's over there, that's doing their thing, is basically king. Whoever whoever that person is, he's actually really running the international banks, right? Because you have the international banks and their presidents and this and that, and there's someone who controls them, because whoever this is, you've never seen them before ever. And if you've seen them, you wouldn't know that you've seen them, right? Though he runs the entire world, you would never know. He tell them what to do. And ultimately, he controls both sides. But there's something about what's going on that they need to happen for whatever reason. But this is what they're saying. If you don't want to get down with our, we're talking about actual worshiping what Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. But their thing is what? If you ain't worshiping Satan, if you ain't worshiping the NWO, right? So to speak, allegedly, right? The king, which their god is Satan, right? It should be, Lucifer, right? But, it's meant to be because our God is Yahweh, and they have their own military. Even upon them shall no rain. See, and that's what the dude was saying. They'll push forth their cloud seeding to a point where it's the molecules, it basically sucking out they're so tiny, so small that it basically sucks out the moisture and make it incapable for it to rain. So that's what they're doing on the left hand side, right? And when you got the ability to stop it from raining, oh my God. When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is why this guy has a God complex, man. I mean, if I had that ability, I think I might have a God complex, bro. Straight up and down. But what else would you do? Like, oh yeah, Oh, you don't want to get down? Okay. It says, and if the family of Egypt go not up, right? Which this is talking about us, and this is talking about any of these families, right? Any of these nations, right? Go not up and come not that have no rain, right? And that's how they're looking at it. Look, you ain't getting down. It's been 40 years and we haven't let it rain in your 40 and you still ain't came down. You came not to or come with us and come to what we're saying, come to our agreement that it have not that have not rained, there shall be the plagues, which that's what they're doing right now. So they about to make the scandemic all over again, right? What's it called? Neophyte or X? What's it called? X virus or whatever it's called, right? They about to push that in the world right now, right? So it says, we're with Yahweh, which they're talking about Satan, which Esau, right? Edom, which, in the NW, Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? Will smite the heathen, because really to them, they're in the land, or they pretending to be in the land. You know what I mean? It talks about a bastard should dwell in Ashdod. They pretending to be in the land, but really, they're just a bastard. So they looking at everybody else like they're heathen, they're goyim and all that other stuff, right? And so they feel like they're gonna get their military, have their ships outside of Iran, and they're gonna go and smite them. They're gonna go smite, meaning to unalive, right? And that's what they're ready to do, because it ain't going the way that they wanted to go. So it's been 40 years, and these people ain't budged, right? They going in to smite the heathen that come not up, to keep it says the feast days is talking about for us, our feast days, but really for them it will be that Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? The feast of, because our things is what the Feast of Tabernacle, but for them it will be their Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? Which a lot of them are down for it, as far as the micro C-hip, the digital currency, but there's a certain way that they're not prepared to get down with their system all the way. They want to do it their way, right? So that they're in agreement with bringing in the micro C-hip, but they're not in agreement of how it should be all transferable and this and this and that, right? So that's the fight. So this thing, they finna go in and try to force their agenda, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 6. So these have power to shut heaven, right? And that's what they're looking at. They're looking at, hey, they got the power via through these machines and things, but the difference between us is going to be the spirit, man. You're going to be able to absolutely manipulate the elements in itself. You're going to speak to the elements, and it's going to happen. Nothing like how they do. They got to use these machines and different things and manipulations and set up people to have these coups, to try to overthrow the existing government, and they use their CIA and the FBI and secret operations agents to go in there and manipulate things, which they have people from each culture, right? They got people who for MI6 and the Black Ops, the American thing, who's actually from Iran, or they're from China, or they're from wherever place. They speak the language, they know the culture. They'll go in and basically try to do some manipulation with the people, and ultimately their main thing has been the news. But then with these these podcasts and these alternate news places, and then of course the phones within itself, people being able to record, which is one of those things they're gonna have to make illegal, right? So that way they their manipulation goes out, and but this is part of that power to shut up heaven, that it rain not in those days, which really this is talking about us, right? Lord willing, be part of that number, but it's talking about our power, starting with Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, King David, the 12, the 144,000, ultimately, that innumerable multitude, and all Israel should be saved. This is going to be, it's going to be our boasting standing grounds. But right now they are ruling the world. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and they have things. Obviously, we just listened to the guy say it, another Edomite. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The tongue shall fall upon themselves, and he's speaking about their ability to shut up heaven, that it rain not in those days. And what days are we at? We're in the time that of what it says of their prophecy, right? And we're in prophecy, right? But in the time of our prophecy, it's gonna be a totally different thing. It's gonna be righteous. It's not gonna be on some wicked carnal madness, right? And have power over the waters, see, to turn them into blood, see. And Esau, on the left hand side, he got those things, right? The Lord gave him, just like in the time of the Pharaoh, when he came to Moses, they had power, bro. They had ability, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. And that's what Esau is about to do. He's about to smite the whole earth with a plague as he will, right? He had the CV-19, and now he got this this neophyte. I might be saying it wrong. Neophyte, this X disease, this X virus, or whatever it's called. Salakia for that. I don't know but I know it's something about an X virus, and it's supposed to be the next pandemic, right? So we have another one coming up, and they have the power to do that, right? On the left hand side, as often as they want, right? And that first one was just the test run. Now they're gonna lock it down for real. And if it doesn't take the order out of Kale, they're gonna do an order out of the World Health Organization. They're gonna use the power of the manipulating by the air, right? By the news. By using what? The news, right? And being able to use the news, right? We're in the time past, ye walked according to the course of this world. And that's us. We walked to the course of this world at one particular time, but what? We woke up, right? Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times, which that's what we're doing. That's what we're using this, according to the prince of the power of the air. And that's where the news go through what they call it, the airwaves. And the prince of the power of the air being Esau, because he rules over this world, right? And he's the prince of the power of the air, right? And that's why he's gonna make things illegal on YouTube, whatever other things that there is, Odyssey, whatever other things that's out there. If it ain't little kittens or you ain't talking about sports or nothing like that, that thing ain't going up. Or they may shut it down for a while, and you ain't gonna be able to put up your podcast or make your money or do whatever you're supposed to do, and until you bow down and get that the micro C hip, and then you can get back to business as usual, right? The thing that they call the new normal. You're gonna get back to the new normal, right? And but there's gonna be a particular time where they're gonna make it illegal. They basically already showing you that they got rid of the Constitution by telling you that that ICE don't need a warrant, which I kind of understand that too, because if you're going after a so-called illegal who don't have rights in the first place because you're here illegally, why would I have to have a warrant for someone who's here illegally? But we know that was what they call a Trojan horse, because they're showing you that by being able to, these people were, if it's not a psyop, if it's legitimate, they just unalive two straight up regular red Americans, red-blooded Americans, and that ain't looking too good on the point of view that you're saying you're just after these illegals and so on and so forth. But we know that's the Trojan horse. But hey, let's keep on going, Lord willing. It says that now worketh in the children of right, and it's working right now. And the children of disobedience. It speaks about the simple believeth every word. So everything that's going to be put on the news, everything that Trump says, these people are simple enough to just believe everything that's pushed out there, and they're going to get down with it, and that's what's happening, and how much more once they cut off this, because before, you got to remember, at one particular time, the Herald, the New York Times and this and that, it was whatever they printed, that so-called black and white, that was that. But now that people have these being able to real time, live, record, show you the truth, as it's happening, and then you're actually realizing a lot of this is Hollywood, right? That the protesters, most of them, or if not more than half of them, are being paid by George Soros, which is on the left, and then they're getting paid by somebody else on the right. So this is all controlled opposition, if you know anything, right? But it worketh in the children of disobedience, right? Because what? The simple believeth every word, right? Yeah, so this is Zechariah chapter 9, verse 6. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and Ashdod is a chief place in Israel, which is like a port city, right off the coast, where you get the goods in. It'd be like one of those chief cities. In the time, you can even look in your Bible where it shows you where it has the maps at in the back of your Bible, and it will show you the thing, and you'll see Ashdod, or you can even go on your Google and look up old ancient map and type in Ashdod. You'll see it's right off the port city, and it's right in Israel, right? And that's basically what's happening. Those international bankers, those bastards who don't have a father, right, dwell in that land, because our father is Yahweh. I mean, they have a father, or at least they think they have a father, which is Satan, but Satan works for the Most High, so he's going to abandon them, right? Which that's what's happening now. Their kingdom is crumbling. Satan is abandoning them. He's telling them, sweet nothings. Yeah, keep going, keep going. You'll make it. You're saying you're gonna win. You're gonna win. Go ahead. This is the perfect time. But everything that they do falls right into the path of prophecy, right? Everything that the Most High said was going to happen. It says, and I will cut off the proud from the Philistines, right? Because what are they doing? Because those what do you call it? The Gazans, the people in Gaza, those people should be Philistines, and they are getting cut off. They're getting cut off from that land. The Lord cutting them off and using these bastards that dwell in Ashdod to do it, right? They're not the real Philistines, but the Lord, do it via prophecy. The Lord is saying, "Hey, well, these guys are the Philistines." That's right. You got to cut them off, right? Because that was the neighboring people to Israel. So those people represents the Philistines, and they have got cutting off, right? Look at that place, that G sighting that's been going on. Yeah, they don't have no place to live anymore. They don't have no habitation, right? Right? Yeah. So this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Says, "Let no man deceive you," right? Because they basically moved into that land, split it with the so-called Palestinians, which basically represents the Philistines, and then they waited to now to basically just cut them off, so they can so-called spread the land, and so it can seem like they're fit in prophecy, but they're a bastard. And that's that. So in 1948, you simple people were deceived and believing that that fulfilled prophecy. But the Lord said there will be no more war. No, neither should you even learn war. So what's happening right now? Are people not learning war? Are people not prepared for war? Is not the worst things happening upon the earth? Yeah, it ain't good things, right? But you refuse to accept that the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians and the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through their father, which have come back to the fold. You refuse to acknowledge that, right? You don't want to acknowledge that, but guess what? Hey, hell on earth is about to commence for the people you got deceived by. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. Right? We fell in 70 AD. The Israelites scattered around the world. We had 1,000 years of rest for a while. After the 1,000 years, basically, he was loose. He was loose to deceive the world once more, to tell you that he's the Jewish Israeli, right? Which makes no sense, right? Because the Bible tells you that they're Israelites, right? And if you actually technically want to go a little further, yeah, it's Yasha Allah, right? But you want to call the things that that are as if they're not, but they are. We are the Israelites, man, right? In the place, in the land, we were told that we are not the children of the power. There should be told that we are the children of the power. And see, now a lot of people are going to start seeing it flow into fruition, right? Right? Because there came a falling away first, right? And we know that 70 AD and of course, ultimately, that was it 17 1792. He showed the ocean blue. Yeah, it fulfilled the rest of that. That Joel 3, right? They cast lots for my children, right? And sold a girl for wine that they may drink. They have taken my silver and gold and put it within their temples, right? With their house, the chief house of Satan here in America, Babylon the Great, right? Where the Lord's silver and gold. He sold them to the Grecians, right? To the self-proclaimed so-called white man, to self-proclaimed so-called Greek man, which is really Esau, Edom, right? And you're going to find out, and that man of sin be revealed, right? Right? The son of what? Of perdition, destruction. So you can see everything that he's ever did, touch, or even thinking about doing surrounds destruction. And the ultimate destruction is ICBM missiles hit in this place numerous of times, 200 million missiles, turning this place into a desert, right? He is the son of perdition, which is destruction. That's Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, right? Says, who oppressive, right? And that's what they've been doing. They've been oppressing us. Who oppressive and exalt himself, right? And that's exactly what they've been doing. Above all that is called the power, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Indians being Yasha Allah, he Prince of God, or he Prince of Power, right? Above all that is called the power, right? Which what they call where the so-called what do they call Islam got it all wrong, right? God meaning power, Allah or Allahayim meaning powers, the angels. And the angels encamp around them that fear Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Yeah. Or that is worshipped, right? So you came against the children, right? Which is Yasha Allah, or that is worship, which is Yahweh and his only begotten Son, right? So that he, as the power, trying to pretend they're in the land, they got the power to stop it from raining, they got the power to make it rain too much, to just basically wash you out, or they got the power to stop it from raining. They got the power to do economic hits, make your economy collapse. They got the power to make an earthquake. They got the power they got the power to make fire come down from heaven, right? Via what happened in Hawaii, right? Via what happened in California, allegedly, right? Right? When you got direct energy weapons, and you allegedly use these direct energy weapons, allegedly, right? Because we know Esau, the devil, don't do no wrong, right? The government, your government, right, which means mind control, he loves you. He loves you, right? The simple believeth every word, right? Said, be not deceived, man, right? But the simple believeth every word. Oh, yeah, you know what? Those people, they be in that land, you know what? That fit prophecy. Meanwhile, diseases, plagues, everything that the Bible's talking about is actually happening in the earth. Opposite of what the Bible says when those people are to be restored. The children, the sons of Yasha Allah, Prince of the Power. The disease and all that is going to be, pretty much null and void. And if you do get a disease, what? The Lord's gonna set up priests in your lands, and you go to the priest, and you're gonna pray to Yahweh. You're gonna give up a sacrifice, and then you're gonna get healed. And you're gonna go to the doctor and keep going to the doctor and giving more money and thousands of dollars, and then you get pills and pills and pills to correlate the symptoms, and that's it, and never be healed. No, you're gonna go pray. You're gonna take up a animal or whatever it is. You're gonna bring it to the priest, and they're gonna sacrifice it, and you're gonna be healed. See, we ain't gonna have to do any more animal sacrifices for us, not for the Israelites, but for you heathens. Well, after your 1,000 years of slavery, yeah, we'll have to most likely do animal sacrifices for you, for the heathen, for your healing, right? That's why we're a nation of kings and priests. It ain't gonna be by accident. You're gonna. Hey, you nations, you should want us to rule over you, right? Because it's gonna be over righteousness, right? We're gonna be a nation of kings and priests, man. Honest kings, honest rulers, because we're priests, right? Not one to oppress you, right? Who oppressive and exalteth himself above all that is called the power, right? Which is Yasha Allah, right? And all that is worship, and that's what they do. So that he, as a power, right? Because he's ruling the world, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked, right? He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, and where, who is he? Right? Because if Yahweh Shai has woolly hair, and it was a Daniel's 7 and 9 tell you that the Most High, the Ancient of Days, has woolly hair, then Daniel's was a 10, I believe, says he has polish. His arms and his feet is like polished brass, but then Revelation says his feet are like fine brass, as if it burnt in a furnace. Then these woolly hair, dark skinned people. Oh, matter of fact, even in Revelation, it talks about Yahweh being like a jasper stone, and then the sun being like a sardine stone, which those are really dark complected brown stones, showing you the color of the Most High and what they look like. But you're deceived by the precepts of men, right? So it says, let me finish this off, because I basically already did it, but I'm just trying to give my thoughts out. And it says, it's all that is said in the temple of the power, yeah, and he as the power sitteth in the temple of the power, right? Because they're ruling. They're the stewards of the earth. You're in rulership. You're in the land. You got the banking power. You have the military power. You have everything. You have all the might right now in the world. Showeth himself that he is a power. Right, when you are able to stop it from raining, I can see why you have a God complex, right? Yeah, so this is Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 7. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. Therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations to you. And all these nations are going to come against you, even your allies, even your mother that it speaks about. Your mother should be sore ashamed of you. All these nations that have the capabilities of shooting missiles on America, Babylon the Great, and on Israel or Israelis, that's what's going to happen, right? Because it's going to be a war. The third war's woe, right? That's what you want. That's what Albert Pike? He wanted that. The third war. Hey, it's going to happen. Thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Holy Bible. There are two woes, and the third woe comes quickly. 2 woes have passed, and the third woe comes quickly. That's what you want. Hey, and you're going to get it. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible. You know what I mean? Don't get mad at me. You know? So it says, and all these nations are going to come against you. You know what I mean? Even your allies. And it says, and they shall draw their swords, which is talking about them ICBM missiles, right? Against the beauty of thy wisdom, right? Because you think that you're smart enough to, I'm going to invade Iran, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to use this the ability to collapse the dollars everywhere, so I could bring in the digital system and microchip everybody, and I'm gonna make the pandemics, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And you like, this is brilliant. This is wisdom to you. This is wisdom, right? But it's all gonna collapse on you, right? And they shall defile thy brightness. See, it's gonna get corrupted. It's gonna fail. Your AI, all that stuff is gonna fail, bro. It's all gonna fail. And the fullness of your sufficiency, hey, you're gonna be in straits, sudden destruction. You're gonna be in straits, man. You're gonna be in a place of difficultness, right? It says they shall bring thee down to the pit, right? And that's where you're gonna go. You're gonna go in those bunkers, and after you be in those bunkers, Lord willing, I'll be part of that elect too, Lord willing, bringing you and slapping those heavy chains on you, putting you in the pit, and then right into cleaning up the earth, right into hardcore bondage, straight slavery, chattel slavery, hardcore. You know what I'm saying? Well, that one dude say, to the max, right? We're doing it to the max, bro. You don't know about that, but we're going to show you. Doubles given to her double for all her hurtful works. Give to her double, right? And that's what's coming to you. It says, and they shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the death of them that are slain in the midst of the sea, right? Because was it the ICBMs, man, melted them while they stood upon their feet. And so you're gonna get Obadiah 1:18. You're gonna die the death of them that died in the midst of the sea, which meaning the people, and the people, hey, they got the, because you didn't care about your people. Russia, they built bunkers for the city of Moscow, the whole city of Moscow. Literally, they can shelter the entire city of Moscow in bunkers, prepared for a war, which means they had a little more care for their people, man. You have no care for your people, so you're gonna die the death or the slain. You die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the sea, which is talking about the people. So they died in the ICBM, hypersonics, and what's the other one? He got one that's powered by nuclear power. Hey, man, the Poseidons. You know what I mean? Hey, man. So you're gonna do that? That Obadiah 1:18. That's what's gonna happen to you. While thus yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am a God, right? Wait, let's say it again. While thus yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am a God. I am God. Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm saying it wrong. I am God, right? Big question mark. Will thus yet say before him that slayeth thee, right? It's a question mark. I am God. Are you going to start saying that you're God then? When the time that your desolation is gonna when hell meet thee at thy coming, you're not gonna be saying you're God, right? Are you gonna say you're God then? No. You're gonna be in straits. But thou shalt be a man, right? Right? You're gonna get the chain slapped on you, right? When you come out those bunkers, right? You're gonna be just a man, and the worst man, the basis of man, the basis of men. But thou shalt be a man and not a God, right? You're not God. You're not a God, man. And not God in the hand of him that slayeth thee, which really, right? Everything comes from the Most High. And the Most High is going to put it in the minds of the people to sin. Which, matter of fact, it speaks about spare no arrows, right? So the Lord's going to put it in the minds of these nations to spare no arrows upon this place, upon your system, right? So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, your achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and the Baba Ball, Kwam Yasharallah.